Hi guys, this is Nina.
This is Jamie too.
And I'm Ethan.
We're all happy because we're together.
This is worth celebrating, guys. This is pretty exciting. I've been looking forward to this day for a while now.
Me too.
Same.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy it's this movie.
I am too. I mean, I think it's kind of a fun little treat for Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. For this episode, we are covering Spring from 2014. If you want to watch it, it is on Tubi currently.
Yeah, go Tubi.
Right? All right. Do we just want to hop on into it?
Sure, I can kick us off with some plot points here. You guys will have to help me a little bit if I miss anything, okay? All right.
Okay.
So, we're introduced to Evan, our main character, and he's going through some shit, man. He's taking care of his mom. She passes. That's really real and sad. And then to make things worse, after that, he gets into a pretty big fight at the bar that he works at. Let's talk about the bar scene for a minute.
Let's talk about the death scene of his mom.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That's
absolutely
punches you right in the feels.
Yeah, he played that well, very, very well. I mean, I totally believed him. So
Same.
Can I just say, I think both the main actors are really talented. I really bought very authentic performances all the way through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy that plays Evan, he's been in several other horror projects as well. I believe the Evil Dead remake.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is a really raw performance that he gives throughout, and it's incredible. I was watching it with Ethan just the other day, and we had to skip this scene because it was just too emotional. He watched it all the way through, and then we rewatching it, we had to skip past it. So.
It's really hard. And then what really gets me is the moment when he thanks her, he speaks to her after she passes. That hits me in the feels so freaking hard.
Big time.
Yeah, I've lost several people to cancer, and it really they nailed it. It's really authentic. You're literally just trying to make them as comfortable as possible, and he's doing it all by himself. He doesn't have anybody. There's no hospice nurses and anything there, so it's crazy. I couldn't imagine doing that on your own.
I know, and he doesn't really have like you said, he doesn't have anybody. There's no family left. His parents didn't have family, so
yeah,
he's all alone pretty much. Yeah, you really empathize for him pretty quick.
Yeah.
Moving on to the bar scene, I have to say one of the things I like about this movie a lot is the dialogue, and I thought the bar scene dialogue was really fun.
Oh my, yeah. I don't know what it is about these two guys, but they have such fun. You believe this friendship so much.
Absolutely.
The quips, he's like, I'm really sorry about, he mentions possibly dropping his mom's casket. But yeah, Evan has really shitty taste in friends. Let's just say that now.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair. I really like the moment where the guy who's working behind the bar, I don't know if he's a manager or whatever, he's like, am I fired or whatever? And he said, I'm not saying you're fired, but the boss is here and he said you can't work here.
I love that moment. I love the part where he's like, why'd you tell that guy he has a cock mouth? Because he does. I've known people like this. I have not been friends with them, but I've known other people that had friends like this, and it's
Agreed. Okay. And so let's see, he has this fight at the bar and everything. Shit's kind of fucked. And he decides he's going to go to Italy. Once he gets to Italy, he meets these guys at this bar. Again, going back to Nina's theory of he has horrible taste in friends.
I hated them.
Yeah.
Hated them.
I hated them. Oh.
Every time they opened their mouth, I wanted to punch them. I hated them.
I don't even think Evan likes them, honestly. I think he's just
No.
He's literally just using them as a way to get around, honestly. So, like, he
Yeah.
seems really annoyed with them several times.
Yeah.
They'd be horrible to travel with. Like, they're the kind of people where it's like, yeah, you'd have some drinks and it'd be fun at first, but it would
Yeah.
that would dissipate pretty quickly, I feel like.
Yeah. After 10
The
minutes, I'd want to
first
hit him with a beer bottle.
Yes.
After the first night where he like punched Evan's beer and it went everywhere, I would be like, all right, I'm just gonna go to bed. Like,
Right.
fuck
It's
off.
like, I'm good.
Like,
I'm
what a
good
waste
on
of
you
good
guys.
beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then, I think like when the movie kind of starts to really pick up for me, because it has like this hard stuff, and then it kind of like slows. There's like a slow point in it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really picks up for me when we first actually see Louise, I think is her name.
Yeah. I really wanted to point out something about that scene where you just see him, his new friends are in the front and he's walking behind them and he's just looking around at everything down this street. And the camera kind of follows whatever he's looking at as he goes down the street. And it's so beautiful, it's so well lit, and I'm pretty sure they used a drone in this scene because it just the way they zoom in so well and move it without it shaking, and then you see Louise off to the corner, and it's just so pretty.
This movie is gorgeous. Like, I did think I read that they used a lot of drone work in it,
Yeah.
so that would make sense to me. And I love that she's like, she's in this red dress, so she's really like vibrant, and things kind of like feel
Mhm.
like they slow down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's also, you learn around this time that Evan's dad wanted to take Evan to Italy after he graduated college, but he didn't get to do that because he died. And then his mom got sick. So it's like he hasn't had a chance to really, like, he's been at college and then he's had to deal with all this on his own. There's been no one helping him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I feel like it's a bittersweet journey for him right now.
It is, because he's like dealing with a lot of pain, and like, but this is also like something that he's like kind of made a promise to his dad and to himself to do. I get it.
Yeah.
I have like a hot air balloon ride. I promised my grandma I'd take her on, and like I'm gonna still do that one day, like in honor of that. And it's
Mhm.
like it's gonna be a super bittersweet moment. I'm like terrified, excited, so I'm sure he's like going through much of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he encounters this beautiful woman again at the bar, and they have this conversation where she's basically like, okay, let's go then, right now, let's go.
Yeah. Let's go have the sex.
Pretty much.
And can I just say, as a guy, there's no way he would have been like, let me think of that. I don't. Are you trying to rob me? Are you a prostitute? Dude, you're not gonna care. You're not gonna care. Just go get laid. So.
And also, if she's not going to say yes. Like, she might say yes if she's a prostitute, but she's not going to say yes if she's going to rob you. Like, who the fuck would do that?
Somebody a very honest criminal.
There are no such things.
Right.
I do think it's funny that he's just like, I want to get to know you. I want to know how crazy you are before I'm like, you're in a foreign country. You would not be wanting
Right.
to look for anything long term. Like, you don't even know what's going to happen the next day. Like, he only gets a job in this area because he likes her.
I know.
And he decides to stick around. Like, that's it. So
Clingy. No, I'm kidding.
he's going through a lot of emotion, so I get it. He's just latched onto the first person that wants to talk to him for more than just a sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't work out right away. She's like, I don't date, not interested. And eventually, like, so his shitty friends that he's with, they end up leaving, and he decides to stay, just for this girl. He gets the job at the farmer's place and stays there. I have to
Can
say,
we talk about this guy?
yes, please go for it.
Okay, Ethan, I know you're a plumber during your daytime job, but the scene where he's showing him the cold, if it's not hot and he gets a wrench and he just starts banging on it, he's like, there you go.
When in doubt, right? I feel like that always works, right? Just bang
I'm
on
gonna try that
the
at work
wrench.
Monday.
Yeah.
Let me know what your customer thinks of that.
I'm pretty sure I won't get paid.
Yeah. He is Angelo is a sweetheart. Like I love Angelo.
Yeah, I think their relationship's really sweet. Like I feel like they were both kind of like didn't know they needed each other. Like, but they did
Yeah.
need each other. So yeah, their relationship's really cool. Um and I have to say, like, okay, so then we come to when he sees this girl again. I have to say, like, the way that the cameras move during that, like you were explaining, does that again, where it's like, I don't know, the camera just like goes all these like kind of crazy directions.
I made a note of that. It's really interesting throughout the movie the way the camera focuses on certain people and things, whether the people have lines or not in the movie. Like the blind woman that lives down the road from Louise. You see her during the scene when he sees her again. You see her briefly. Evan notices her, and then you see her later when she's talking to the police. And then
Yeah.
the later on in the movie when the police are investigating what's going on and Evan's trying to talk to Louise and she sees them, the camera notices them before Louise does. And it's like you're telling a story without using words, and they really did a great job with their cinematography. Like they really did a great job. So
Yeah. The camera's almost like a character in this one. Well, it has a
for
lot of
sure.
movement.
It does. And I think that's mostly due to the drone filming that they did. And they did a really good job of not making it too annoying with all the
Yeah.
movement because I don't like a lot of movement in my cameras and shaking, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a thin line, because you could really do that well, like this one does, but if it's like too much, it doesn't work. And like
Yeah.
sometimes too much drone footage, and like it almost feels like, ooh, like we get it, you have a drone. But this one, I feel like it was really natural and like wasn't like too like showy. I don't know. I feel like they did it
Yeah.
well.
Well, with this type of film where things aren't always as they seem, where you've got a lot of nature involved, and I love all the shots of the spider eating the fly and the praying mantis at one point and the snake shedding its skin. Like it's really beautiful the way they do it. And I don't know, I would love to find out how they got those shots because it's incredible how they tied it into what was going on.
Yeah, I agree. There's actually like a making of featurette. I haven't seen it, but I bet they get into
Okay.
some of that stuff. I bet a lot of it is about the cinematography. So it'd be interesting to
Interesting.
see.
Is that on Tubi as well?
I don't know. I just saw that it was on IMDb. Like they had that
Okay.
listed. So I really want to
Okay.
find it. I've never seen it. So I'm not sure if it's just like DVD or if it's available somewhere, maybe YouTube.
Might be on YouTube.
I
I'll look
also
into
think
that.
that it's available on Shutter.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Have
Okay,
to
I
look
gotta
into
check
that.
that out.
Yeah.
Okay. So they do some dating, Louise and Evan, and I really love when they go to they're like looking at a museum, like looking at like the
Yeah.
artifacts and stuff.
It's an art museum of some kind, and they have I don't remember what she calls it, but he calls it Roman porn. I
Hmm.
remember that. But it's really funny because he shows or she shows him this portrait of what we soon later realize is her, and they're looking at it and she's like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "She's beautiful." And he has no clue that it's her. So that
Yeah,
must have made her day.
I love it. It's
Sh-
so cute. Like,
It
and
is.
there's that beautiful shot where like she's looking at the rock, and you can see her
Mm,
face like next to the image. And so
yeah.
it's like, they're telling you, like, hey, that's her.
Yeah. She also mentions during this time that she's studying evolutionary genetics. So they're kind of hinting pretty
Mhm.
early on what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And then we get to learn a little bit more about her and get to see like their personalities and like their flirtation, which I love. Like I just love the way they flirt with each other, talk with each other. But she's like travels all over the world. She like knows all these languages. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely something different about this lady.
Yeah, I think she lies to him at one point because she's listing all these languages and she's saying he asks her if she knows Sumerian and she's like, I don't think so. And she asks him, what about you? And he's like, I don't speak dead languages. And that's when he picks up a book that she has that she later uses in a ritual with the rabbits. And it's like, I think you speak dead languages.
Yeah, that's not normal. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, for sure.
I like when she says too, because I really love the dialogue in this. And at one point she says, "Even I'm a mystery to myself." I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, I feel that.
Aren't we all?
And yeah, and then we have these like again, like the little nature references that come up throughout this are really cool too, because we have that great scene where they kiss and like the flower blooms.
Yeah, I made a note of that. I was like, the flower blooms when they kiss. It's really cute.
Super cool. Okay. So everything I feel like is going pretty well for them, but then we get this big reveal that, she turns into this thing and kills a cat.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah. And we see little things too where she is putting in a contact lens. She's got one different colored eye than the other, and but yeah, she kills a cat, and I I have no clue the science behind this movie. I have no clue because it's very different. But yeah, different things work to stop things and other things don't. So it's
Exactly.
weird.
Yeah, I will say, and we'll get into it, some of like the overarching concepts on like what she is and how this all works. It took me like a little bit, like the first time I think it kind of went over my head a little bit. And then the second time I was like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it.
Yeah, watching it with Ethan, it was they explained where it's not just one creature, it's all of the creatures from the
Right.
past basically that she
Yeah.
can turn into at any given time. So it and at later on in the film when she's transitioning towards the end, she's got the octopus type things and tentacles, and then she's also got the praying mantis or the scorpion thing as well, and it's like, okay, I kind of like that it's not just one thing, it's multiple.
Yeah, she's also more like a wolfy looking one at one point.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah. And
Which
then
is
we get
kind of weird because it's like you have the insects and the lizards and the fish, and then you've also got fur.
I know. It wasn't until we had that like I become evolutionary monsters of our past or whatever, then it's like, oh, okay. Because I was like trying to figure that out too. It's like, okay, so what is she? Is she like a wolf? Is she a Lovecraftian thing? What is she?
Yeah. Um, there's a really fun moment where Angelo and Evan are talking, and Evan finds a little caterpillar worm thing on one of the trees, and Angelo puts it in a carton and he throws it into the neighbor's yard. I didn't catch that the first time, but he throws it into the neighbor's yard and he waves at the neighbor. Didn't do anything, but he explained that the worm kills the trees.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny.
liked that too.
Yeah.
And we also learned that she has this concoction that she injects herself with. We don't know what that is exactly yet.
Did you notice the vial has a sad face on it?
I did.
Yeah.
That was cute.
I like that. You have to kind of have a little bit of a sense of humor if you were in the situation that she's in, I feel like, right?
You got to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I also mentioned I wrote goo on trees. So there was like all this stuff that was on the trees. Obviously, like things, wooey things are happening in nature.
Yeah, I want to know what that is. I think Angela says it's tree rot or something, but I don't know if that would like I don't think you'd be able to see it like that, but I could be wrong. I don't know anything about trees or plants. So,
I don't either, and I fully recognize that now because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is. What does it mean?
right. I do think it's funny. Evan's pointing out the volcano in the background and he's asking if it's active, and Angelo's he doesn't answer the question. He just says that the volcano makes good soil, and I think that's a really good analogy for what's going on, where it's like something that's really dangerous and really bad for you and scary could also create something very beautiful. So,
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then like we keep getting these little reveals on like, she's not a human being, right? Or a normal human. She's a human, but
yeah.
kind of. And so, I really like when, he wants to get a picture taken of the two of them together and she totally doesn't photograph.
Yeah.
No, they will never be able to take photographs while she's like this. So,
Yeah. And then she gets really pissed, because he won't talk about his family. But it's also like we kind of know is it because she couldn't get a picture taken, so she doesn't want him to like find out anything. And anyway, she kind of storms off, and
Here's
they
my
have their
thing though. Like, she doesn't want to get to know this guy, so why is she asking? Like, you think she's already falling for him? Or, I don't know. Like, or maybe she hasn't gotten what she's wanted yet.
Exactly.
I don't think they've slept together yet, have they?
I'm trying to think if they've slept together at
I
this
don't
point
think they
yet.
have. I think this is the first time that they're about to.
Yeah. I think she probably because we learned that she hasn't really been in love before all these like many, 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 many years that she's been around and everything. So I get the feeling that like Evan gave her feels kind of right away that she wasn't
Yeah.
really used to having. So like she's fighting that because that's not her reality, that's just not how she does things. But
I think
like
she's lonely.
she is lonely and she's drawn to him. So I think there's like multiple things that are like pulling her to him in a way that she doesn't usually get with guys.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Um and then I kind of skipped ahead to, so if there's anything I missed, jump in, please. But she actually like resorts to magic in this cave and eats her bunny,
That
Bob
was hard
or
to watch. Bob
Sally,
and
I think.
Sally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really sad because she gets Bob out and she says sorry, Sally, and everything. And Sally watches as Bob gets killed. And that's the part that's hard because you kind of hear Sally screaming a little bit, like, because bunnies do make noise. And it's like,
I
it's
know, and
hard.
it's like, why'd you have to kill your bunnies? I mean, she's desperate, she's trying, but it's
She is
like,
really trying.
and so she does this like magic, and I have to say, I really love like, I think I'm trying to remember if this is the first time we see it or not, but she kind of sheds off her skin like
Yeah.
sometimes.
Like a snake. Yeah. You see the snake shedding the skin and then she sheds her skin. And I have a feeling that this is a body double during the scene because she looks really skinny. Like, I don't think this is her.
Super skinny.
Like scary, sick, skinny. Like, I understand some people are just naturally thin, but I could practically see through her. Like, she was really skinny. So I hope that this is a body double because, yeah.
Yeah. Now, at first, I almost was wondering if it was like a CGI thing because
Right.
she is so thin in that, and it's almost like non-human because she's so thin.
That could be too. Yeah, they could have added some CGI in there or something because
Yeah.
it didn't look human the way that they showed her body because she's fully nude and everything. So it looks like very sickly,
I
almost
know.
alien-esque, like, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It had a very like non-human, like unhuman look to it,
Yeah, for sure.
which was really cool. Okay. So our two reconnect again, and I have to say I really like the moment where he brings her the art book and then they go on this boat ride.
Yeah. Although this, like, he signs it for her and we never see what uh he signs to her. And there's another point that I thought was really funny. I need to get your guys' opinion on this, but Louise mentions that she's been to Mexico, and he's like, "When did you go to Mexico?" He's like, "Oh," she's like, "Many years ago with an ex. He liked to conquer things, but he wrote beautiful love letters." And I'm like, "Did you go on a boat with one of these Spanish conquistadors or something? Is that what happened?" Like, I really want to know. It sounds like that's what happened.
That is kind
'Cause
of
she's
what
like
it
over
sounds like
2,000 years
happened.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he writes her a love letter and we have no clue what he says and I want to know.
I do too, and actually, there's like two separate points where she makes him write something for her.
Yeah.
She does it
Right.
earlier, and I didn't mention it. I meant to mention it because I love when people write me things. Like I love when books have inscriptions. When I go to used
Mhm.
bookstores, I like look for those specifically that have like
Yeah.
something written in them. So I think it's really cool. We don't know what he writes either time, and I
Yeah.
really really wish we knew what he
I
wrote
I
both
wish we
times.
knew. I wish we knew, but I also think it's kind of cute that they left it as a private thing between the two of them. It's really
It's like
cute.
intimate, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
almost
intimate
like
that we don't even get to be a part of it.
it's also like let your imagination take over because I don't think anything that they could come up with would be enough to, maybe. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Sure.
Lots of pressure to figure out what
Why
to.
not?
Yeah. Um. Okay. And I had this note too. I really like when she says, "Stop talking shit about my boat, Evan," because it's like taking on water, and she's like, "Stop talking shit about my boat, Evan."
It's a very strange boat. I've never seen oars set up like that before, where one
Right?
is further ahead than the other. Like that
Yeah.
looks so uncomfortable.
I know. I actually read something too on IMDb. It was like a little goof at one point. Like he's supposed to be like rowing the oars one way, but he's rowing them the other way. I didn't really
Yeah,
notice it when I watched it, but I read that on IMDb.
I didn't notice it, but it definitely looks awkward and uncomfortable for him. And like, it's hard enough paddling like I've paddled a canoe and a kayak before, and it's not easy. And they're in an ocean, so God bless that man.
It is not easy. I've paddled around on a kayak too, and it's actually like, I mean, it's work.
It's hard. And if you're doing it all by yourself and you're doing the backstroke and one oar is way up here and like I don't know how you'd get that even. His boat would be just be turning in the circle if it was me.
Same, same. Oh my god.
Right?
Yeah. So she turns into the monster again, and I think this is the only human killed that we get in the movie when she kills the guy who asks if she's a prostitute.
This is a really very uneasy scene because this guy he's an American tourist as well, but he's not like Evan at all. And
No.
he's drunk. I think he's asking her for drugs at one point, and then he just like pulls up her dress and is about to, rape her basically before she turns on him. And thank God she's not a normal human. I'll just say that.
Right.
Yeah.
If you thought it was uneasy being a guy, it was definitely
Yeah.
uneasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
she
was
like,
not a fan of that.
yeah, folks, in case you don't know, she rips his dick off.
Yeah.
She rips his dick off. Yeah, you
Completely.
see the body the next
Just,
morning, and there's like a blood trail down the alley and off the cliff, and he's just laying there with no dick.
yep.
Yep.
It was a bloody
Was
scene. There's like blood
was
on the
not a
walls
fan.
too. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Don't. That's what you get. Don't be
Uh,
attacking any women in alleys if you don't know what they really are.
Because you never know. She could be like an evolutionary monster from the past or whatever, man. So, show some respect.
Right?
Okay. And then like we come to this kind of like breakup where Luis is basically breaking up with Evan, which is kind of a bummer because Evan's really sweet and he's really romantic and he's trying to like express his feelings and where he's at.
There's a lot of things going on in this scene. So first off, he brings her flowers. As soon as she puts the flowers up, they start to wilt like right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a big thing. And then when she tells him like we can't see each other anymore, the camera kind of like pulls away from him and like he's all alone in the frame. Like it's just him and like he's just very sad looking and it's like you really understand like he has nothing. Like his friends can't answer the phone. They're too fucking stoned and high and he has no friends here. The only person he knows is her and she just rejected him. Like he has no one. And it's a really sad scene.
I know, because he's like bearing his heart and his soul too, and you're like, yeah, those are all good. That's all good stuff, man. But she's not having it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it takes a lot of uh restraint, I think, on the part of the filmmakers to not do a close up in that moment, you know what I mean? And just be able
Yeah.
to pull away because it's a very emotional scene and those emotional scenes they tend to be close ups always, but the pulling away of the camera was just so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree,
Agreed.
really. Yeah. We have him kind of back with our farmer, and I think there's like this really like it's really a touching moment where like the farmer's in the truck, right? And they're
Yes.
talking, and then he's
Yeah.
like, immigration, and he's like, should I run? And he's like, yes. But it was like
Yes.
this like one caring, like this last kind of like caring act for him. He's really looking out for him. So I thought that was really beautiful.
After he said he was leaving and he couldn't work for him anymore, yeah, he's still looking out for him. And I think he sees a lot of himself in Evan, the way he's
Oh,
just like, yeah, you should run. Like, and he's telling him like he's giving him all this advice, how women are the jewels of the world, and teaching him Italian. Like he really, I think he really cares about Evan a lot.
Oh yeah.
yeah. He's like that
Yeah.
father, the father figure that like Evan's really been searching for because he doesn't have family anymore. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really love them together.
And I think Evan's teaching him a lot too. Like, you know, he's not been interested in any woman except his wife, who's passed away a long time ago, it
Yeah.
seems. And he's not been interested whatsoever. He still cries over her picture and like all this other stuff. And it's like he's like, well, whenever you're ready, like you can. And it's like he's not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another really like heart-wrenching moment when he says if you're ready, you can move on kind of thing.
He
And
doesn't
there's
even
just
finish the
silence.
sentence. He just looks at Angelo and he's like, he's not like
No,
that's just
never.
not ever gonna be a thing for him. So it's really sad, but like I get it.
I know. I know. He's a good man. He's a good farmer man, and he was a good husband to his lady.
Right.
Less than
Yes.
Angelo.
I know. And of course, like, who does Evan run to when he's running from immigration? He, heads back to Louise's house. Of course, he finds her in a state that he hasn't seen her in before. She's all Lovecrafty up in there, and she's got like a bunch of tentacles. She's like an octopus lady on the ground.
Sees an octopus. She's got the stinger thing because she stings
Mhm.
his hand at one point when he breaks in, and she's got like this weird alien type head
Head.
thing
Head.
going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very strange. I mean, I know some of it's CGI, but I really like to know how they did the head because that looks really good.
The head did look good. And I did like I thought the tentacles looked really cool too. And like the one that's still like kind of twitching around on the ground for a little bit. That was really fun.
Did you notice in the next
Yeah.
scene, the tentacle is on the couch? They picked it up and they put it on the couch.
On the arm of the couch. Yes.
On the arm
Yeah.
of the couch, it's just sitting there.
Oh man. I
Yeah.
know, it's like what
And
do you do in that situation? How awkward.
I wouldn't pick it up. I
I
would just
know.
leave it. Yeah. And they made tea. They took the time to make tea, but they didn't talk apparently. They made the tea, they picked up the tentacle, put it on the arm of the couch, and they're finally ready to sit down and talk.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, she starts to kind of lay on him all this crazy stuff about who she is. You know, she is that woman in the rock painting that we saw and other women who are in other paintings in that place. All the ladies who have different colored eyes are her. And
Hmm.
then, we learn that, she basically, the way that I understand it is she basically, her body uses the beta cells to regenerate. She basically gives birth to a new her, and she has to do
Right.
that every 20 years.
Yeah, it's basically every 20 years she takes on the baby's version of what that human would look like at
Yeah.
22 or whatever she's supposed to be. Like in human years, she's 22. But I'm really glad they explained it several times because it's
Right.
very confusing. And I think when Evan says it, it makes more sense to me, probably
Yes.
because of the way he words it. But yeah, it's very confusing and the like I said, the more they explain it, they go into different details about how it works. And yeah, I'm glad they didn't delve too much into the science because I think they realized how fragile it was. But it's very interesting. So I like that they kind of created their own kind of monster for this.
Yeah, I like that it does something really different. Like I've never ever like come up with that before, like seen that before. It did take me like again a little bit of time to kind of understand it, and I think you're right when we hear like it through Evan, because he's kind of like with us, right? You know, in his
Yeah.
level of understanding. She's lived with this for like thousands of years, so maybe she's not that great at explaining it. It's kind of complicated. But
I don't
when
think she's
Evan
talked
is,
to anybody about it ever
yeah,
until
yeah,
now.
that's
So
true.
it makes sense why she's not so good at explaining it. So
Totally. And Evan's
yeah.
like the only person that she's wanted to share that with and everything. But yeah, and then we, we learn about the evolutionary monsters from the past thing, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why there's all these different faces on this lady and all these different parts and stuff.
Yeah. She has something that's very interesting that she says. She says that science has not caught up with the myth. And I like that a lot. I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it. She says that like in ancient times or whatever, people who had rabies, they would be confused with vampires, and it's like that's a really good analogy.
That's so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And it's kind of like this tragic realization that Evan has to go through, and she does too, kind of, that like she's not going to be the same person that, he has had these great few days or weeks or however long it was. She's going to change. It's going to happen. It's not even safe for him to be around her if she becomes one of these monsters. Like, she gets the worst when it's right around this time. And he just kind of puts it to her as like, well, like, let's have this day together, basically,
Yeah.
which is really romantic and sweet.
It
And
is.
kind of stupid. So
Yeah.
Stupid.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's face
There's
it,
that
it's a
too.
little bit stupid. So
It's yeah, like I don't think he's even known her a full week. I think they say it's been 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like how to lose a guy in 10 days, but in reverse. Uh,
Right.
yeah, yeah, he's like, well, you may not choose me, but I'm gonna try and keep convincing you that you should love me. Like, it's like the ultimate guilt trip. I don't think it would work outside of this movie whatsoever, but
I
yeah.
mean, and
Probably not.
also at that point, he was probably thinking, if I die, I die. I don't have anything else. I don't have no parents. I don't have no friends.
That's
I have
true.
nothing waiting for me.
Except
So
for
if this
immigration.
works, great. If not, except immigration, exactly. So if this works, great. If not, well, I'll die happy.
That's a
Very
good point. I didn't
true.
think of that. Yeah.
Very
But
true.
yeah, like it's just it's kind of a selfish thing for him to do. Like I think she even points it out like I'm not giving up eternity to spend the rest of the next 50 years with somebody I've only known for a few days. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's very strange, but it works.
Yeah. And then they kind of have this last hurrah together. They kind of discuss, and the science behind it gets a little complicated to me here again. Because apparently there's a way that her body could like use like the
It's the
humans.
hormone. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the hormones of like when you fall in love, there's an actual hormone
Yes.
involved. If it's high enough, then she will stay human, basically. But she's not going to like mentally be able to say, I want to stay. Like even if she kind of loves him, if the hormone's not high enough, she's moving on, basically.
Yeah.
So she's really got to like chemically be invested in this. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. There's a lot
Yeah.
of there's a couple scenes during this last hurrah date that they have that I really liked. They're at one of these other museums and they're looking at the bodies that have been there that are older than she is apparently, and he mentions that he saw this place in a World War II documentary. It used to be like a shelter for people, and she's like, mention World War II, and every American becomes a historian.
Yeah.
I love that part so much.
Oh, I also like when they're walking down the street and like the guys are trying to sell them drugs or whatever, and she's like, yeah, and she buys it and they go because it's like last day, why not? I'm
Do you think she takes the coke? Like, do you think she uses it?
gonna assume she did, right? I mean, why would you buy it if she wasn't gonna use it?
I don't know. I don't.
But who
I feel like
knows?
coke would last a while, so I don't. I don't feel like it. I don't know.
And
Maybe
I
she
don't
And
know.
took
she
it.
paid
She was
more
gonna
than
use it
double.
later.
She paid more than double what he was asking for.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
wanted
she just
20,
gave
she
him
gave him
like a
50.
50. Yeah,
yeah.
she's like, "Do you have change?" And then she just handed it, and he was like running away. That's
Yeah, I
great.
wonder how that interacts with like her whole chemical situation in itself too.
Not good, I don't think. Not good.
No. Yeah,
uh,
and go
there's
ahead.
another moment where she's injecting herself again, and she's like, "This is the last syringe. Are you sure you're ready for this?" And it's like, there's nothing else she can do, like, to keep these transformations at bay. Like, this is it, so you better be ready.
Yeah. Uh,
And the
and
last
then my
syringe, that was the one she did in church, right?
Yeah.
Which is the best line in the whole movie. What was that? A zombie doing heroin. I laughed so hard.
That was so funny.
It was so perfect because it's like the little Italian like lady, she's not even like necessarily phased by it. She just says
No,
it and they keep on
they
doing
keep
what
on
they're
praying.
doing. It was pretty
They keep
awesome. And
praying. Yeah.
I like when her face is like changing and stuff as they're hanging out and talking. There's a moment when her back is kind of splitting, and that was
Right.
really cool looking.
There, yeah, the part where she's got like something going on with her face in the church, and he's just like, Louise, you've got a little, he's
Yeah.
like, she's like, "Oh, is it bad?" And he's like, "No." But you need to.
You should probably take care of that now.
And like she's just going on talking, like she's really projecting her voice in this church, and that's why the old couple hear her and everything. And she's talking about all these adventures she's been on in the past 1,000 years, and taking her time injecting herself as the stinger is coming up behind Ethan or Evan, and it's about to sting him at any second, and she gets it just in time. But yeah, I was
Hilarious.
worried the first time I saw that. I'm like,
Yeah. Uh-oh. And so yeah, we have this like last kind of scene too where they're sitting there, the volcano's like behind them. We're gonna have
well,
this moment. We learn about her
there's
family.
that's another thing. You don't realize until then that she's from Pompeii.
Hmm.
Like that's where
Mhm.
she's from, and her family's bodies are preserved because of the scientists that discovered the area. Like that's crazy. She's like, "Come meet my family and everything." And I'm like, "Wow, that's heavy."
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like they're literally their last moments are preserved because of these scientists that found them. Like that's crazy.
I
I can't
know.
imagine like Evan has been alone his most of his life after everything, and like she's been just as alone but longer. Like she lost everybody, her whole
Yeah.
town.
Yeah. And she has to like just kind of like just like stay in the loneliness because she's alive for so long, and it's like you come back and you have to start over every time. Like she even says or way earlier in the movie that she has to like, or I mean when she's explaining everything, she says that she has to like will herself items and she has to like prepare for
Yeah.
like the next life that she's going to live.
She's got federal ID numbers she's got to come up with. She's got several residences throughout the world. And it makes me wonder how much her mom prepared her, or if she just has been trying to figure this all out on her own over the past like several thousand years. It's very, very scary to think about. Like she's been doing this forever, and she's finally just now trying, like, understanding it. Like that's scary and very sad.
And she's not dumb either. She's smart, she's like science minded and
Hmm.
she's like scrappy, so yeah, I mean
Yeah.
she probably got further faster than I could, I feel like that's some science shit.
I think any other person would probably just be in a corner, just like trying to kill themselves because it would be too much. Like that's a lot to put on somebody.
Yeah, it's lonely.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, this last monologue I think is like extremely, extremely beautiful. I didn't write it down, but it's Evan's like last kind of like monologue that he speaks to her. It's really, really beautiful.
I wrote a couple of things down that really were moving. Like he says, life is making each moment count. Being sick makes you feel grateful for all the times you were healthy. Like little thing, like because she asked him like, "What's it like when you don't have to work? When you have to worry constantly?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's." I think he says that it's really like it boldens him to, like, he wants to make the most of the time that he has and everything, which is why he goes on this trip to begin with. And um like the way he explains it, it's a beautiful way to look at humanity, honestly.
It's really gorgeous. Yeah, it's like one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, just because I think the way he puts it is really beautiful. And you hear her kind of like, you hear her like the sounds of like the transformation kind of happening without seeing her.
Yeah, it's a close up on Evan's face while he's talking, and he just keeps talking as the sun rises behind them. And then finally we get like a shot of the two of them.
Yeah. And her as herself.
Yeah, she chose to stay, basically.
Yep. So it gets a happy ending.
It
Very, very
Ethan.
good. Yes, yes, very good Valentine's movie. We'll say it like that.
Yeah, I think if it had gone any other way, it would not be a movie we would have picked at all.
No.
I know. Imagine that. Like she turns into like it's a mix of all of them. So praying mantis, octopus, wolfy, scales, all of that, and she just like devours him. That could have been the way that it went down.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
not to Evan.
Yeah.
I'd be
Like,
okay with her killing a few more people. I will say this. This is
Yes.
more. I consider this to be more of like it's almost like more of like a romance story or something with like elements of horror. Like you
Right.
don't really get a lot of. It's not really like kill heavy or anything like that. And I would
No.
have been okay with her killing like a couple more like assholes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. I think a little bit more gore and stuff. I think they had a limited budget, which is why
Yes.
you don't see a lot of, like, you do see her as the creatures, but it's very limited what you see, and
Yes.
it doesn't look a lot practical. So obviously they spent a lot of money more towards the engineering of that, and that can get quite
For sure.
costly pretty fast. So, and they were definitely shooting on location, so that gets expensive too, having to put
Right.
everybody in hotels. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that if they had had more money, it would have been even more incredible to see. But she also doesn't enjoy killing. Like, she apologizes
Doesn't.
to the rabbits, like these are her pets and everything. She doesn't enjoy doing any of this. Maybe the
Yeah.
dick being ripped off, but that's it.
Other than that, she did not take any pleasure in it.
Yeah.
And he deserved
He
it because, well,
He
he was a dick.
deserved it.
So.
he
Yeah.
deserved every bit of that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I got a few fun facts.
Okay.
Okay.
So, this is about the drones and the filming of that. So director Justin Benson, this is a quote that he gave us. He says they had a very meticulous shot list and had a well thought out approach to how the photography was going to be done. One of their Steadicam operators mentioned that he had a drone. It's brand new, and he asked if he should bring it. And they at first they were like, I guess, like, just in case we might need it, but they kind of blew him off a little bit. But the more they saw what they could do with it, the more they wanted to use it. So it ended up being like when the actors weren't working, they had time off, they would bring the drone out and they would shoot like video of the city and stuff, which is why there's so much of that
Mm-hmm.
in the film and everything. So they said on Sundays they'd film in Italy and just do some drone photography work and just grab as much images as they could, and almost everything they shot with the drone made it into the final film.
Wow, that explains a
Yeah,
lot.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's a creative way to shoot on a budget if you don't have all the technology that most people have, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. It creates that movement, like we were saying, and it makes it seem like you have a little bit more budget than you really do.
For sure. Yeah, because most of those aerial shots that they did, those are normally done on helicopters and stuff. So helicopters are a hell of more expensive than
That's
a
a little
drone.
pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
for
guessing.
sure.
I've never been in the market for one, but
No, but you gotta rent one out if you don't own one, and the gas for it and all that. So
nightmare.
that would be a pain in the ass. Yeah. And yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's a good way to do it. And like the the scene where he's walking down the street and he sees Louise for the first time, that's a very intimate shot with the drone. Like, it looks really
Yeah.
good. So it's impressive that they were able to do that as well as the wide views of this little town too.
Totally.
And one other thing I found, Justin Benson, the director, and Aaron Moorhead, they wrote the film. They claim they wrote it as a counterpoint to Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, so Interview with the Vampire. They wanted to
Okay.
show a creature who actually enjoys its strange condition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or the Vampire Chronicles shows creatures enjoying their condition, whereas this one, she doesn't, basically. So
That's so
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, because I mean,
yeah,
I read all the Anne Rice books when I was younger, so I remember that one. I could kind of see what they're saying because she doesn't. Yeah, like she kind of takes
it's
her
forced upon her.
immortality differently than it's taken in
Yeah,
that book. Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Like,
I
she
would have
still
never
wants to
guessed
be
that.
immortal. Yeah, she still wants to be immortal, but she doesn't enjoy killing or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
it's interesting.
I would have
Yeah,
never
I thought
guessed
that was
that.
fun. Me
Yeah.
either. Any other thoughts on the movie before we wrap it up?
I will say that I really like these guys. I this was the first movie I saw by them, but they also did one called Something in the Dirt, which was really interesting. They did one called The Endless, which was also really interesting. And then one of them directed 2 episodes of the show Archive 81 that I freaking loved. If you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. It's kind of set in the 90s. It's like,
Okay.
it's really cool. It's really, really interesting. And then I jotted down the tagline because I liked it. It's Love is a Monster. I liked
Aw,
that. And then I wrote that this movie reminds me of like Before Sunrise meets Possession and H.P. Lovecraft.
definitely have vibes of Before Sunset, the trilogy there. Yeah,
Yes.
with the talks of the religion and past relationships and stuff like that. Yeah,
Totally
it's
right.
the cinematography is very similar too, with the nature shots and everything. So, and they're in a
I
foreign
thought so
city.
too. Yeah. It really
Yeah,
reminded me of that, but like with supernatural like elements thrown in there.
for sure, for sure. All right, let's rate this movie. 1 out of 10, 1 being hated it, 10 being loved it, and best movie ever. Ethan?
I agree with Jamie. It definitely could have used some more horror-esque elements, some more murder. Look,
Yeah,
obviously, I like to see people get killed. So
yeah.
less animals, more people. So,
Yes.
but it was a very good movie. So with that being said, I would say probably 7.5.
Okay.
Yay.
Would definitely
Yeah.
recommend it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yay.
think I maybe not more murder for me. I want more body horror. Like, this is a creature. I want to see more
Okay.
transformations. I would love to see more practical effects. I think that with her
Absolutely.
skin condition and stuff, you could have done
Yes.
more with that. And some latex, that's not that expensive if you have the right artist. So, um other than that, and it being a little slow sometimes, I think it's really well written. All the characters are very believable, other than, I think the male viewpoint is a little skewed, but other than
A little
that,
bit.
yeah,
A little bit.
considering it was written by guys, I think it could have been a little bit better, but
Yeah.
maybe like accidentally falling in love. Like, you don't intend to do this on a trip after your parents die, so I think that could have been better. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think it's a really solid film. I'd probably give it like it's just a 7.
Yeah. I'm pretty close to you guys too. I love this one. Like I said, it has some points that drag a little slow for me. It really does. But like I forgive that because I really love the dialogue. I love the characters. Like their relationship and them talking to each other is like my favorite part. Really love that. But yeah, I would love to see more special effects. Again, I would have loved to see some like some gooiness. Like I love body horror, so I
Yeah,
would have liked to see
same.
some more body horror too, and a couple more kills. All that being said, I really love this one, so it's like an 8 for me. Totally recommend it. It's different, like I said, maybe not for everybody, but check it out, and then check these guys' other work out because I just like their style. Like their cinematography is really beautiful every movie, and it's always interesting. It's everything they've done that I've seen so far is different than any other plot that I've really like seen. So I don't know, I like the way they think. It's different.
Did they use more of the drone cinematography in the other films, or no, not really?
I think so. I mean, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of particular shots, but I feel like there were some droney shots in those too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. It was really good.
Awesome.
All right. Well, with that, that wraps up Spring from 2014. Again, that's on Tubi if you want to stream it. And if you find the making of feature, let us know because we want to find that out too. So I am Nina,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Happy
Good night.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.